Oh,
Okay.
we're back.
Okay, you're back. Okay, we were just talking before when the thing went off. Dr. Gbadegeshi, are you online?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay, I think you just wrapped up, sir.
All right. Well, I wouldn't know where I was when your line went off.
I think I can kind of summarize. I can kind of summarize where we were that moves us into the next section. And so I think a couple of the good points that Mike brought up was in some ways that like a lot of this innovative teaching too is about thinking about the curriculum at the university. So for example, the university I teach at became open enrollment 2 years ago. So anybody now who's graduated from secondary school can apply and come to the university, which creates the need for more remedial courses. So having remedial courses in our curriculum at tertiary institutions is important, right? Thinking about that. And then Mike also provided us with a good segue to think about drama and kind of games in the classroom, also as a way to kind of reach students, which should then give us a nice segue to Rachel talking about the exercise that the three of us did. So, Rachel, do you want to describe the kind of game-based learning that we did together?
Yes. Thank you, Eric. That was the game that we had. It was such a wonderful moment together. And not just for us, not for those of us that are actually, coordinating the students to play the game, but the feedback from the students showed that they actually had a wonderful time. It was really interactive for them. And it's not a kind of teaching whereby you tell them, you show them a picture. What we do in our traditional teaching classes where you just pick the textbook, you show the children, the students, the pupils, the picture. This is a Benin bronze. It was taken from this place to that place and all those kind of archaic method of teaching. So this is actually a full participatory something for the students and they really enjoyed it. One of them, not even one, a lot of them, they were so excited. And sometimes they get across to me, even when I'm sleeping at night. So I had to start switching off my phone so that they don't get across to me. They tell me, this person did this. The game actually involved repatriating the Benin bronzes. So it had to do with some of the students being a curator for museums. Some of them were actually philanthropists that gave out a kind of aid to the curators. And then it was designed in such a way that if you are a museum curator, you know the number of artifacts that you have. And from there, you know the worth of your artifacts, you know what you're trying to build because of world economic crash. You are trying to build some financial stability in your museum. So you reach out to the philanthropists to help you. So many of them, they actually found it very interesting. Some said, we spent, I think, roughly 2 weeks on the game. They wanted it to continue, but part of challenges during the game was that some of the students, I had a student whose phone crashed during the game, and but luckily enough, he was able to get another one. We had electricity issues, like we've been saying, teaching method in or about Nigeria, we can't rule out issues of infrastructure. We just have to put those things in place to ensure that the teaching learning program goes smoothly. But this is one area that is being neglected when the basic amenities that you need as a teacher, as a learner, they are not there. So you just kind of struggle through the entire process. But nevertheless, these students, because they had their interest and they were keen on going through the game, I want to believe about 6 of them, we had 12 from our hand here. Initially, they were 16, 4 dropped out because they just couldn't cope due to one reason or the other. Then we were left with 12. Out of the 12, I think probably 8 of them finished to the end. I'm not too sure now. But okay, that's the introductory video that Eric is posting. So we started the game. Eric actually designed how we'll go about it. That, as like I said earlier, our exposure to basic amenities for teaching, it's a little bit on the hot side. When he told me we'll be using Discord, I was like, Discord, I've not been on Discord before. And I asked the students, 2 of them said they have a rough idea, but they are not really in-depth into the use of Discord. But nevertheless, we embraced it as a new teaching method. We embraced it, and I realized that it's a whole lot of teaching facility. Let me put it like that. It's a whole lot of very wonderful teaching facility, because you can do a video, you can record your presentation, you can get on the platform that we had. So we use Discord for the gameplay. And please let me not forget to mention it. The Reacting Consortium is actually analysts can join it, and they did the fee, the annual deal, in such a way that you don't pay above what you earn. We have categories. If you fall within a particular pay slip category, there's what you pay, and it's just very good. Unlike the normal, everybody pay 1 million that we have in Nigeria. No, it is not like that. So if you want to join the association, it's really open. So we played the game with the students. They had, like I said earlier, really engaging and interactive time. And I want to believe one of the things they would have learned, even though it's not really in the field of their learning, but all those students that acted in that game, ask them about Benin Bronze. They can download history for you now. Why? Because they learned it without anybody putting them through the traditional open your textbook, read page so. What did you learn there? It wasn't like that. We just threw them to the floor of learning. You teach yourself. It's a teach yourself method. When we are reacting to or doing gamified learning, it's a kind of teach yourself method or system of learning. And I believe it's such a wonderful method if we can incorporate it into Nigerian system of teaching. Because I want to believe Mr. Ojomo was in Lagos just like this last year. Dr. Gbadigeshu was there. Ask me about the All African Games. I can tell you the names. I may not remember your name as a person, but just tell me your role name. I can easily, this is you, this was what you did, this is what you, I can easily download that history. Why? Because I was thrown into it. I had to act it out. Not anybody telling me this is what you do. But in Nigerian system, we have this, we believe that until you give out directives that this is what you must do, we don't believe that we're already teaching. So I think one of the beauties of reacting to the past games is that you don't give too much of directives. You just leave them, let them learn at their own pace. Let them delve into history. Let them delve into other people's lives. Let them delve into situations. And then they bring out what they believe would have happened, what is happening, or what ought to happen. So it's a very good way of teaching students. And I just don't know if we can have it expanded and enlarged such that it will incorporate other subjects. I was discussing with Dr. Badigashin, and he was like, okay, let's think about how do we bring this thing into the learning of phonology and literature. I know that for literature, it's very easy. I'm already thinking of so many things. It's very easy. But other aspects of education in other subjects, how do we incorporate reacting to the past as a teaching method? I think that would be a very beautiful thing to do in Nigeria, especially now that our students are tired of we dishing out materials to them, you give them handouts, and like Eric said when he started, truly you give them handouts and they disappear. That's just the norm. Once they have the whole note, oh, fine, see you during exams. It's just for us to go and cram it, isn't it? So they just go out, they cram it and they download it. And after the exam, ask them, okay, can you just give me, what is a table? Let's say, for example, you taught them table. What is a table? They've forgotten, because all that was done was just to cram and download and forget about it. But when we introduce reacting to the past, I want to believe it will be a very good way to let the whatever they learn become part and parcel of them.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. So you bring up two good points, right? Immersive gameplay and then international virtual exchange where our students got to know each other. Izzy, I see you're here. I'll have you go next. But really quickly, I just want to say these kind of discussions around all these issues, Lego Studies Association is forming a teaching committee now to add to its other standing committees. Elections are happening right now. I hope to be elected. Please vote for me. But certainly some of the kind of events that the committee will do over the year will include things like AI, students with learning disabilities, right? Immersive role play in the classroom, international virtual exchange. So I hope in the future we could have longer conversations too about a lot of these topics. With that said, though, Izzy, I know you're on the other panel right now. You got a lot going on with Benin studies. So please go ahead and introduce yourself and describe your innovative teaching.
Okay. Sorry, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes.
So I just want to quickly add some things to what Rachel said.
Oh, let's wait really quick. Let's have Izzy go, and then Theophilus can go, and Babalola, and then we can add in. Let's just get everybody kind of done, and
All
then
right.
we can add in whatever we have time for.
All right, thank you, Dr. Convey. My name is Zengbe Pat Ebuka Noah. I'm of the Department of History and International Studies, University of Benin, and I am the founder of Teaching History with Fun. So I'm a historian, and like she has said earlier, I noticed that if you don't make it fun, you won't find students in your class.
Yes.
So because I'm a fun-loving person, I'm a playful person, so I brought presentations into my class. That's normal for almost all history courses. A lot of people do presentation, but my kind of presentation was different. In my case, and the course I was teaching for several years, and I'm still teaching now, is African Personalities in History. In that course, we deal with the concept of negritude, trying to transform the mind of the student, that we had great people in Africa and that they are worthy of emulation. We look at the pre-colonial period, and then we look at the post-colonial period. In the pre-colonial period, we have heroines, heroes, and these are the people they are studying. So after teaching them the basis of the course, I give them each personalities to look at. And in the course, you are supposed to wear an African attire to come and do your presentation. And I allow the student to do whatever they want to do right there, because students love grade. I give them their grade right there as they do their presentations, and everybody must participate. You must talk and you must present. Students, some of them have stage fright. You say, oh, my grandmother died, and you will join another group, the next group that have not presented. So that was the culture. And the students fell in love with it. In my class, I use 1000 LT. You find that Even students in 400 level, there are students that call me their mentor. I didn't teach them because it's a 200 level course. They're in 400 level, they will come to my class because my students were acting drama. When they are in faculty, they are dressed in African attire. Maybe they are dealing with Jaja of Opobo. You see them, they wear native, representing that culture. If they are dealing with Shaka of Zulu, I was amazed when I saw them. They dressed like Zulu people. In fact, Amina of Zaria, it was only a horse that they did not bring. When they were dealing with Ebomisi, they brought fire to the class, and I was scared. Ebomisi is one of the greatest physicians in Benin, and he used fire. We call him the fire bender. So they brought fire. They were doing many things and all that. So this course made many of my students interested in African history, and I also teach West African history. In that particular course, I was using Benin, the return of Benin bronze, and I use my social media platform to teach. When I drop something, I'll say, this is it, this is it. And as an African student, you must value this. You see this person represent African culture. I bring them into social media groups that are good. You win in my class if you speak properly. I ask you a question, you're able to define it. I have a pack of biro, I give you a biro. That's just for the normal class. And then for the group presentation, right now, my older students who are now in Europe, America, different parts of the world, are now sponsoring the groups that people should be able to win prize, because in their time, best presenter, I had a business, I had a honey, so I used to give honey then, but now they are ready to give money to them. So a lot of the students right now are so excited and they want to be part of it, because the best group is going with 30K and the best presenter is going with 10,000. So this makes it, I'm not using my money, my older students, they are the one, my alumni, they are the ones bringing, yes. So they are the ones bringing it because they enjoyed it in their time, and they said the presentation has opened doors for them. It gave them first boldness. I started doing this because when I got to Ibadan to do my master's, I had stage fright, but I noticed that those that were in Ibadan, they've been doing consistent presentation. They were so used to it. It was normal. So I make sure in each of my class, there is always a presentation. So just to deal with the issue of stage fright. And one of them sent me a message the other day. He said, I'm working in NGO. He said, what I learned in your class is what is helping me today. I'm bold. I'm able to talk to a group of people, whether black, white, and this is because of what you have taught us. And this is why you see the alumni of that class are in support of our project. Thank you. I think I will just do that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of great stuff in this, right? So I think, yeah, absolutely learning should be fun, right? Learning can both be a serious pursuit, but it also should be fun. It should bring us pleasure, right? And then I think also, Rachel, you were talking about these kind of like, math instructors who were just kind of like not enthusiastic, right? So having enthusiasm, the word spreads. More people want to take your course. They're more interested in taking courses with you, and then that presents a challenge to other instructors to kind of raise their game in the classroom, right? And I also like this idea of like using your social media platform, right, to kind of build a following of students. And finally, the most important thing here too is a lot of this stuff in the classroom, game-based learning, and then doing these kind of presentations and prizes also creates a sense of belonging among students. It creates a community of practice where students want to come to the classroom and they want to be with other students who they know, who they've been having fun with in the semester. And as a kind of group, everybody pushes everyone else forward. So great stuff. All right, shall we move on? I think Babalola, you're next on the list. So we'll do you and then Theophilus, and we'll have some time to talk.
Yes, when there was breaking the internet earlier on, I was talking with the group here. Basically, I teach in a school that is specialized, science and technology. And when you teach students from that area, you experience some difficulties. Okay, some could be a closed door, as in, oh, I'm in the sciences. What do I need to learn about creative writing or creative thinking? What do I want to do with it? Not realizing that Your sciences without creativity would not benefit the society. So how do you make them understand? Now, for me, we have discovered that some of them, like Dr. Gbadigeshi pointed out, never left certain age. Okay? Learning to read. Many of them never left learning to read. And so now they are now reading to learn. They don't like it. And you know, in the sciences, the weight is still in Nigeria. They commit everything to memory. You must cram. It must be there. So that if this formula is formula A2, it has to be A2. They are so straitjacketed with sciences and the way it is taught in Nigeria. So to now get them interested in what I have to do, especially in creative thinking. So sometimes you get to class, you have to involve them. The first thing is to get them involved, make it interactive. Now, if you remember last year, we were looking at the play, how to play. With these ones, because many of them are not so much into doing things like that, it is difficult to really get them to do it. And besides, it's quite a huge class. So what I do is to interact, sometimes deliberately, we talk about things that affect them, not directly in school, but hey, from society. We just start discussing politics. And then you see them shouting and screaming. Or we discuss sports, football. Whoa, they like that. Then you now start using that. Once you know you have their interest, you now start using that to point out some things to them. I remember a particular class some 3 months ago, and I was telling them, science, agriculture. So what can you tell us now about the prices? There's inflation in the country. Prices of food are on the increase. What is going on? And they kept saying this, it's Tinubu, it's this, it's that. And I asked the question, okay, you who wants to become an expert in agriculture, what have you been doing, or what do you have as plan to increase food production in Nigeria? And many of them were just blank, meaning that they just went to school to study and not thinking of what they would do with what they have done to study. And I started telling them stories. So that is where the problem lies. We externalize all these things. We think it is that person that is responsible. We're not looking at ourselves and move. So they were able to listen. Many of them will come to you later after the lecture. They'll quickly mill around you. But excuse me, sir. That means I've been able to get their attention. Because number one problem we have is, one, they come and they don't understand what you're saying. The whole class will just be quiet. And you think they are listening. It's only when you now walk among them that you discover that some of them are busy playing with their toys. They're playing with their toys. And if you try to reprimand them, you might not see them in the next class. And that's not good enough. That's not good for them. So you must think of something to bring them closer. Another thing I introduced was, okay, you'll be the teacher. 1, 2, 3 of you, this is our next topic. Go and look for materials on this, because we're all used to that traditional method. Lecturer will go look for the materials, collate it, then present. Hey, let's see what you two can do. Good enough. They have a lot of, in fact, the society today is advantageous to students. They have the internet. So many of them, when you give them the topic, they just go straight to AI. And you know, funny thing, they don't know that some of us too are onto those things. And so they just download from AI and bring to class. Okay, present to us. They are not able, they are unable to read what they have on paper. Sometimes it can be so discouraging and disheartening. But we just let it, you want them to learn. You just want to get them interested. So sometimes you say, okay, what you have done? Then I'll now tell them, there's something they call plagiarism. There's something the world today called privacy, and you are a thief when you just take from someone and you do not acknowledge it. You are downloading this straight from the internet and you're not even acknowledging where you got it from. That is, so we try to do all of that because these ones are from a special school. It is science and technology, just science and technology. If we had a little of arts, for instance, or the humanities, those ones are even more flexible. But the sciences, boom, they're that rigid. But you just have to get them to, because if the school does not find creative thinking necessary, they will not tell us to teach you creative thinking. So sometimes you now ask them, what is thinking outside the box? They'll tell you one or so things. So now, okay, is there a box somewhere? You now sit in the box and you think outside it or what? That's why I now use that analogy to explain to them that thinking outside the box simply means creative thinking. How you must think and say, okay, how to do it. So this way you get them interested. But I must tell you that the success rate is not that high. Only a few really catch on to it, and those few benefit from it. But the wide majority are only thinking of, I must pass this my core course. I must have an A in that income, managerial chemistry, and all manners of names. And so the fact that what I teach cannot be crammed, as we call it here, cannot be crammed, it doesn't make it that interesting to them. And so I have no choice than to just think of any way to get them interested in what they have to learn. Thank you.
Great. Yeah. And I think there's some important things here. And this is a huge challenge in the United States also. The idea that students are just obsessed with the exam, the grade, and getting their credential, not with actually thinking about what to do with this stuff. Over in the question and answer online, Isioma Obia Diaka is talking about some of the things they do in the classroom, hands-on activities, field trips, but not having the time to do these because they're talking about students being focused on just the scheme, right? The grade, the exam, and not understanding the concept, right? And Izzy was talking about this too, how doing these things in the classroom, these skills in the presentation, students actually learn how to apply them, right? So these scientific things, for instance, how do we actually use these to increase agricultural production in Nigeria, for instance, rather than how do you just use this to take the exam, to get a good grade, to get your degree, and then you have no idea what to do after that. So I think, yeah, absolutely, challenges on both sides of the Atlantic. Good. So we'll wrap up here with Theophilus, and then we can just talk about all of these things together.
Right. Thank you very much. Can everyone still hear me all right?
We can hear you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It's been great listening to many of these conversations. And as someone who studied in Nigeria for the most part till I left, I can relate to some of these things. So I have what I want to present written. So I'll just read over it so that just to give a coherent idea of what I'm saying. So yeah. The term innovative seems to be a big word to describe my teaching, probably because my innovation is a copy of what many other people have done and what they're doing, right? So that said, what I do in my teaching is really tied to my research interest in visual studies. As I mentioned, I work on critical disability studies, African cultural expressions, and visual studies. So I have a teaching appointment to teach Introduction to Composition. The course attracts students from different majors across the university. So think of it as the GNS course offered to first years in Nigerian universities. But I decided to deviate from the standard pattern of teaching the course in 2021. The standard pattern of teaching the course involves writing essays, reading essays, working on drafting argument, and all of these very monotonous frames of thinking about writing. So I started teaching Introduction to Visual Composition and Narratives in 2021. The idea behind the class is to use visual forms like comics, cartoons, video essays, advertisements to engage students in crafting arguments, in analyzing texts, and most importantly, in becoming creatives. Because part of their project involves them developing comics, video essays, and digital collages to make arguments, to combine different research scholarship in their areas of topic, and also to tell a story. So the class has 3 sections. Just briefly, the class has 3 movements. In the first part of it, I tell them to often design a comics that explores an aspect of their personal identity. So it is free for all. It is that open. and I've seen amazing things. One of my students in 2022, I think, developed a comics that was recognized in the old school, actually, was pasted in there's this lovely place where it was recognized, and I've had students do that. But what is even more important with that is those things they develop become their own. It is not just me grading stuff and it dies, right? It becomes part of their own portfolio that they have. They show it to their family and all of that. So for today, this morning, I'll simply focus more on the challenges and possibly expand on them later. So the challenges. The main challenge I have faced in trying to bring African visual texts as part of what we will be reading in class. And this challenge is mainly about accessibility of those texts. And I know that would seem counterintuitive. You're in North America. I'm in one of the biggest public schools in America, right? And I'm talking about accessibility. But let me define what I mean by accessibility. By accessibility, I'm not saying that African comics, cartoons, and other forms are not available. In fact, I have many of these texts. The challenge I had, and I still have with accessibility, are in two forms. One, institutional policy, and the second one is my own ethical stance regarding creativity and label. So part of the policy of the course, now this is the institutional policy side of it. Part of the policy of the course is that students are not supposed to buy any materials because it is a composition course. The material they use is provided by my university. So once they pay, the university gives material. So they are not supposed to buy any other material. So if I'm an instructor, as an instructor, I am to bring any other material to the class, the material must be free. It must be free online. They must be able to get it easily, but they cannot buy. But many of the African visual forms that I wanted to use for the class, they are not free. So institutionally, I am not permitted to allow students to buy any material. At the same time, although I have many of these texts, I am not ready, and I'm saying this very clearly, I'm not ready to make them free for these students. Because I have a kind of idea of the stringent environment and challenges some of the artists from Africa face before producing their works. I know what goes on in Nigeria. My family is in Nigeria. I visit Nigeria almost every summer. And I know what artists go through before they produce anything. Now, because I have them, I'm not going to present it to the students for free. The work of these artists is label, and ethically, I'm not ready to gloss over that label and creativity. Not when I'm teaching in a predominantly white institution and a very white city in the United States. 99% of the students in my class are white. So let me conclude, and this is my conclusion. For me, innovative teaching is not just about teaching something incisive and exciting about knowledge and creative production in Nigeria and Africa. It is also about recognizing and reckoning with the barriers and adequate recompense for the labor and creativity. Thank you very much.
Good, yeah. And I had that same kind of challenge teaching at my institution, right? A primarily white institution in North America, where I wanted to use Nigerian comic books. And it was the same kind of situation, right? Like I could have possibly had the students buy these comic books themselves. I didn't have the same institutional constraint that you do, although I have a course I'm teaching this semester with that same constraint. But my solution was to apply to the university to get a grant to purchase these Nigerian comic books from a Nigerian comic book company, right? And then I kept this collection of comics. So when students read the comic book in class, I bring this stack of comics, they read them in class. So the producers got paid for the comic books, right? And my students don't have to pay for them. But these are good questions about accessibility. Some of the stuff Rachel brought up, about these kind of games, material for games, doing international virtual exchanges where data costs money, obviously. So good. So we've all gone now. And I think the thing I want to prioritize, all of us, we have a WhatsApp group together. Hopefully there's going to be this kind of teaching committee for LSA. The 5 of us, or the 6 of us, I guess, 2, 4, 6, how many ever of us that are here today, we'll certainly be able to continue these conversations among ourselves in the about 20 minutes that we have left here, maybe a little longer, because I think we can go until the next session starts on the Zoom. What I'd like to do is to prioritize audience questions or contributions or points of discussion, first of all, and then we can also kind of bring up any things that we have to connect these or any things that we didn't get to bring up yet. So whoever's running the kind of session there in Lagos, Babalola,
Okay.
you're right on the, you and Samson are on site. So
okay, there are two of them here who 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So you just tell us your name, let us have your question, and the panelists will, whoever will react. Maybe, okay, 4. Okay. Let's start with you, ma.
Okay. Thank you so much for this insightful and eye-opening session. My name is Abiola Olawale from Anchor University, lecturer in the Department of History and International Studies. Yes, so far from what I have both comments and also questions. Maybe I should call the question per se. But firstly, from the summary of what we've said, that teaching shouldn't be done in abstraction, especially in this part of Nigeria where we are right now. Because teaching in abstraction will, there's a way that even the student becomes so boring to them. So as a result, we are encouraged to bring life into our teaching, to bring teaching into life, to make it, to infuse, just like Dr. Pat said, to infuse life into whatever it is we are doing. Then going by what Dr. Rachel said, and I don't know, Dr. Samson, you mentioned at some point that there is a level a child will get to know that, okay, this is what is expected of that child, this is what you should know. And when he or she is not measuring up to that level, that means there is a problem. But I really want to ask, in line with what Dr. Rachel said, I remember vividly what at some point I had this threat for mathematics. But when you talk of English, I hate everything, no matter the class. Imagine me being in primary 1 and I was taken to go and teach, to go and read for those in primary 3. This is my story. Now, when that happens, are we putting it into consideration? One, the passion of that child is areas of strength and weaknesses. I made mention of this because the mathematics I did not know then, by virtue of the fact that I have 2 children, I'm teaching them their homework. I now see the innovation I'm bringing to make them understand. I don't want them to pass through the kind of strength, the threat that I pass through. I have to be thinking out of the box. Okay, how do I make this young boy understand this? That's that for that. Then if he is now having problem with that, have we also studied that he might have interest in other areas? His area might not be mathematics and he's doing well in other aspects. So are we now going to say that is a learning problem, but at a much later time, such a child might overcome that challenges? I'm still questioning myself till today. How come I now know math, whereas I was struggling with it a year ago? Does it mean then my mental capacity had not developed, even though at that age I was expected to have known that, and it is what I'm expected to know, I now know now. So what is the problem in that instance? Thank you so much.
Please, let's be conscious of the time. We have little time left. Yes, sir.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Ihoma Okorie from Bayero University. Mine is just not really a question, but a contribution. Okay. You talked about reading, how to identify learners who are able to read. Okay, there's something they call reading readiness. And reading readiness is the physical and psychological readiness of a child. If a child is not developed mentally, that child cannot read. It's not possible. Okay. Then talking about innovative ways, of course, teaching has moved away from the student center to the teacher center to student center. So meaning that everything we're doing concerning teaching has to be innovative. Okay, and gaming is one of the processes through which we can help or we can impact. Now, how do I do gaming? I teach, before I started teaching in the university, I was teaching in primary school. And how do I teach my learners numbers? What I did through gaming, I drew a cycle on the floor, and I wanted to teach them how to identify numbers. So what I did was draw a cycle on the floor, and I wrote down the numbers. And I said, okay, let's play a game. Let's draw 1, 2, 3. So with that, they were able to identify the numbers. Then when I came down to the university level, there's a course I teach voice and speech. Okay, and one of the ways as a dramatist, there's this belief that your language and everything must be sweet for you to go on stage or screen. Okay, and there's this, I teach voice and speech. And one of the ways I used to help my students to learn actually how to speak is tongue twisters. So I just called them together. Okay, tongue twisters, let's start. Peter Piper put a pair of pickled peppers. A pair of pickled peppers, Peter Piper. So we play this game. And I find out that at the end of the day, the students are more interested and they learn even well. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Uchesh Chima from the University of Nigeria. The first question I want to ask, and the only question I want to ask is, when we don't have the opportunity to have, like secondary schools, to have these devices for teaching, like the spelling checkers and the rest of it, what other devices can you use? That's one, because most times in secondary schools, we don't have lights. Private schools will try to even put on gen for a number of hours, and then they will put it off. And then even when they put on the lights, wait for the admin to bring for some things, and then the teachers will not be suffering in the heat to teach. Okay. Then another thing I want, that's my only question. Then the other point I made up is teachers in Nigeria's situation are egocentric. For instance, Dr. Saxon just called the chair, Eric, by name. Can I call you something? No, I won't. Your students can't do that. I can't try it here. And we have this ego that we must be addressed as a big person. Then it offs our students very well. Then most teachers in Nigeria or in Africa don't dress well. I would love you if you dress well. Like just your dressing first as a student. I would just want to come to your class and sit down and learn. Then teaching is a joyful thing. Teaching is a very joyful thing. And when you're not natural about it, you're up about it. You can't do anything about it. Then when it comes to the fundamental aspects of the learning of our children, I think we parents are even the ones contributing to the problem. Because parent A's child is in primary 4, and I gave birth to that my child at the same time parent A gave birth to that child. So I want my child to also be in primary 4, whether my child can read or cannot read. Parent A's child, for example, I finished from the university from the secondary school at the age of 15. I finished from the university at the age of 20. So, and my parents refused to tell anybody. So when people learned about it, they want their child to also go to school so fast, and they are forgetting that we are not on the same page.
Thank you. Thank you. Last question or contribution.
My name is Peter from the University of Nigeria. Teaching is a profession, actually. We are talking about innovative. And you can find out that the technology has come to stay in education systems. Especially in Nigeria, in Africa, in time. You will find out that students now, they are born into technology, multiple age. And when we now teach them in the traditional way we normally know, you find out that to raise, to enhance students' interest and motivation is very difficult. Because we are talking about innovation. My problem is on the issue of how are we going to address abstract concepts? Because most students find it difficult to understand it. And another problem we are having in the education system now is critical thinking and lifelong learning. Because AI has come into education system and people use it. And another issue is that how do they use that AI? Copy and paste. Critical thinking. What are they going to do with their ideas? Can you formulate your own words? And now you talk about constructivism. That theory is very, very important. Because when a student learns, and that student cannot construct meaning from what he or she has learned, that learning is incomplete. And you talk about learning lifelong. What learning after school? is very, very important. What happens to the students when that students leave that school? That's lifelong learning. So we are talking of innovative. Fine, look at our textbooks. We don't use textbooks now. We pack them in there and we go into AI. I have studied AI and I called AI textbook without reference. AI will just give you an idea, but use your own idea, use what you understand and make your own meaning, make your own meaning on that concept you want to learn. So we still have an issue of abstract concept. We're talking of mathematics. Mathematics is difficult, is difficult, is difficult. I have seen someone that can teach you maths and you love maths. In fact, maths is the easiest subject. Yeah, very, very easy for me. If you know the formula, you go ahead. Very easy. But the issue is that how do we inculcate that skills, that mathematical skills on the students? I developed something like, I use 2D animation and developed a concept. In that 2D animation, I use the curriculum and use the concept in the curriculum and form it, it looks like a cartoon. I design it and I use it to teach the students to motivate their interest. And you find out that some of them were highly interested because they are watching. How did you calculate this math? And you see a robot teaching them how to calculate mathematics. And most of them were happy. Even they were asking me whether I can put it in their own phone because most students had phone. What did they use with the phone? So all this, we have to bring, since technology has come and it continues to advance, we have to bring that learning to that skills so that the students will go along with technology. Teaching them with traditional method we have before, I don't think it will work. And that is why sometimes when you give them exam, they'll fail woefully because you didn't put them in that line they're supposed to.
Thanks, Dr. Lisa. But we've had the contributions and the questions. So, would you like to go first?
Yeah, sorry, if I could quickly take a stab at one of the questions that has been asked. I think the third question, but probably some of my response will also overlap to some of the things that have been said. I think the person who asked the third question, sorry, I didn't get your name, I'm sorry, but you spoke about teaching. Sorry, you spoke about the name, the way you refer to the instructor or refer to the person, say calling them by name or calling them by doctor, the idea of egocentric. And then you spoke about probably dressing and all of that. Let me say something. I mean, again, I did my undergrad and a master's in Nigeria before I moved to North America. The truth of the matter is this: even in North America, incidentally, I think Eric will know this very well. I did my second master's in Mississippi in the South, where in fact respect is still a thing. Throughout my master's, I hardly used to call my professors, white professors, by name. So don't let us think that the idea of egocentrism or respect is just an African thing. Actually, no. I learned for 2 years that I spent in Mississippi, I did not remember calling my professors by name in the class. Absolutely not. I referred to them as doctor, and of course, you could have cordial relationship and all of that. The second part, and I'm going to tie them together to then propose an answer. The second part where you spoke about is dressing. Well, one of the things that shocked me is most instructors in North America are dressing formally to class. I was shocked when an instructor was in the summer, not even in the summer, in early fall, where they were wearing a short, what you could call a baggy, to the class to teach. Professors really wear baggies to class to teach. Now, why have I referenced this? Teaching, there's something about teaching and culture that I think we are glossing over. Teaching is not just the innovation, it's not just the content. It is also about the cultural norms of where we are. And we cannot say we would dismiss the culture of where we are teaching art for the service of innovation. No, innovation can be cultural. And I think that is extremely crucial to what we're dealing with. The way, permit me to say, but the way a person dresses or what you refer to them does not diminish the, as I said here, does not diminish the content or how effective a class can be. I'm a very dandy person. When I teach, or normally when I dress quite formally when I go to school. But that doesn't change anything. That you dress formally doesn't mean. As a matter of fact, let me say something. In my experience, I've taught for about 4 or 5 years now in North America. Students don't respect how you dress or anything for them to listen in class. That informality in the North American class has made students worse off. I can tell you, if I put the same energy I used to teach in North America to Nigeria, I will produce students who are far better and far smarter. I can tell you for free. Because many people, they just want things done for them. They want things handed over to them. They want things easily passed to them. So I think let us get that quite carefully, that there is a cultural aspect. Cultural aspect must not be tampered with because we want students to learn better. Absolutely not. It's part and parcel of it. One of the things I regret the most, I still suffer from a trauma. Guess what? I have 3 masters now. I'm completing my PhD, but I still suffer from a trauma of mathematics. Everybody has been saying it. I keep telling my wife this anytime we're talking. I remember a class in math, and I'm rounding off now. Our teacher split the class to 2 on the basis of people who know mathematics and people who didn't. I was in primary school. So those of us who didn't know mathematics were on one side of the class. Those who knew mathematics were seated on one side of the class. Till tomorrow, when I remember that, I still have the trauma. I don't know math today, but yeah, today I'm almost completely. That tells you it's not as if I was dull, but there was something culturally and fundamentally flawed with that aspect. So I think if we can really think about culture as innovation, that's where I'm going to. Because we're confused. It's not everything we do in North America that is correct. So I've known professors, and Eric, again, you might know it, Abiola Erele and, I can say it publicly, Abiola Erele and Biodun Jeyefo, great scholars of literature. One of the things they complained about was the North American classroom and how the students are so offhandish to the teaching process, even despite all of the energies that professors put into it. So how do we do these forms of innovation without dismissing the cultures? Again, am I saying everything about the culture in the Nigerian system of teaching is right? Absolutely not. But it's just that balance in the middle that we really, really, really need to think about as we get it. I have to run now, Eric, sorry. It's very early here in North America and I have to do school runs and all of those things. But thank you very much. I've learned a lot from everybody. And Eric, I would reach out on WhatsApp.
Of course.
Thank you very much.
We'll stay in touch. Thanks for participating. All right, other roundtable responses to some of these questions.
Can I put in this, Rick? I think one of the ways to just blend the situation and maybe reduce all these issues about cultural interference and cultural addiction is what we did during the reacting to the past game. It was a IVE, International Virtual Exchange, where our students had to work together with your students, students from this side of the Atlantic with those ones over there. And I want to believe we were able to maintain a kind of standard whereby this culture wasn't bruised and that culture wasn't offended. The 2 groups of students, they were just able to blend, just look out for, okay, what do they want? What can I give? What is acceptable on this table of learning? So I believe if we can do more of that, the IVE, let students from here interact with students from there. That is a very good innovative teaching method that we just have to embrace at this time that the world has gone global. I want to believe that will also help our students as well as the teachers and instructors to have a sense of balance when it comes to being on the global spot for things like these conferences, seminar presentation, working together. It will really help.
Okay.
To address one of the questions as regards the local way of addressing maybe reading difficulties, or in a situation whereby public schools that they do not have some of these devices to correct and to serve as a remedial teaching. Now, I would try to say that part of the innovation teaching is to be a kind of teacher that improvises. You improvise some of these materials that are, some of these equipment that you know that they are not available in your own context or the environment where you find yourself. For example, you want to teach some certain things, like you want to teach students about apple, you bring it to the class. You can use tomato in a place whereby they don't have apple, because from that you make the students know that they can infer. Now you improvise, and like what they've been saying, you can use game way method. You can use like game, like one speaker, I think the other woman said that you want, for example, I once taught a child with autism, and I've used different methods. I've used different things, the assistive device and some other things. But I was teaching just one, how to recite one, for about 5 weeks or 6 weeks. Now, one day I just came up with, let me draw this one down and begin to run through this one and begin to
Samson,
say,
can I interrupt really quick? The LSA people have told me they want us to wrap up. So please,
we can meet thereafter.
Yeah, talk afterwards. I want to give people a couple of reminders really quick. So the LSA teaching committee, vote in those elections. Keep an eye out, if you're a member of LSA, for more emails about events like this that will focus on things like accessibility, AI, international virtual exchange. Don't miss those 2 teaching panels tomorrow, 6E and 7C there at the conference. And then there's another panel Saturday on primary and secondary schooling, session 9M. So again, continue these conversations. Those of you who are there in person can talk. All of us will continue them online. And again, I want us to see this as something that is continuing and ongoing, that we can build on, and not ending when we get thrown off the Zoom chat and out of the meeting room there in a few minutes. Samson and Babalola, thanks for being there in person. Babalola, especially for kind of facilitating a little bit. Rachel and Mike, I look forward to our continued collaborations. Thank you, everybody in the audience, for coming to this today. And again, I look forward to more conversations about this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so nice to be here.
Thank you so much, everybody.
So it's a wrap. Thank you.
That's it. Bye.
I'll see you guys in Ibadan.
That's fine.
All right, we'll expect you, sir.
I get my love.
I must be next week. I don't know if there's like 10. Your question, one of things.